Kirby is a video game franchise. In the Kirby franchise, there are video games. A lot of them I like, some I haven't played, and some I wish I didn't. With a huge franchise like Pink Circle Dude, there are going to be a few titles that fall through the cracks, but with Kirby, nearly all the games are pretty well known. I'm sure less people have played the 3DS eShop spin-offs, but even the Super Nintendo remake of Star Stacker is known and played by fans. However, there's a small corner in the Kirby series that few dare to explore. Many know of it, but few are actually lame enough to give a damn about it. Yes, I'm talking about none other than Kirby's Toybox. 10 bite-sized games with a Kirby theme, broadcasted through the Super Famicom Satellaview service. I love the Satellaview so much. This obscure service oozes personality. A ton of unique games, magazines, and other cool software was broadcast to this NES, and you could access it through a charming RPG hub world. There sure are an interesting bunch of games. A good chunk of the Toybox are callbacks to old mechanical arcade games. The first game being Baseball. Kirby is the baseball, Kirby is also the baseball player, Kirby is the audience, and I'm surprised Kirby isn't the bat. This game could have been a lot better, but the physics in place just aren't there. The bat swings way slower than it has any right to, and there's no real skill. You just have to guess when to swing before the ball actually goes on screen. This wouldn't be a huge deal, except the ball has a hard time actually making it to the targets. It often just bounces out, resulting in a strike. I'm not complaining because the game is difficult, it's just I've played a bunch of these old baseball machines at pinball places, and they play nothing like this. One positive I can say about all the games in this collection are the graphics and music are pretty good. Of course they are, it's Kirby. But all of the songs are taken from Dream Course. They're good songs, but I wish there were some new tunes to dig into here. While baseball is pretty much broken, it does have Kirby in a cool hat, so I don't regret playing it. Alright, next up is Guru Guru Ball, in English known as Round and Round Ball. You shoot Kirby down a spiral and a point modifier is at the bottom. This is probably the least interesting game ever. It's worthless. At an actual arcade, the whole point to playing one of these is to win tickets, but here you can figure out the timing for 500 point bonus in like 2 minutes, and once you figure out how to break the game, that's it. Guru Guru Ball held my attention for like 5 minutes. I am not kidding. Not sure what's going on in the background. Looks like some kind of bird thing in front of a fence in hell. There is no reason to play this now, and even back in '96, I can't imagine many people got much out of this. If you're like a big fan of spinning balls around, then this one's for you. Personally, not my thing. Cannonball at first seemingly has no Kirby in sight. You got 2 robot Rickies and geometry flashbacks in the middle. The objective is simple. Take out the guy on the other side. Oh look, there's Kirby. Yes, this is an artillery game. You've probably played something like this, whether that be Worms, Scorched Earth, or one of the hundreds of other games in this style. These games are best enjoyed in multiplayer, so I grabbed a buddy and we had a solid time playing Kirby Cannonball. The robots move slowly, but I'm pretty sure that's intentional. There was more depth to the game than just shooting your friend. The ground is destructible and your Ricky can only move on untouched ground. So one approach is to trap your opponent and line up your shots so they can't dodge them. After a few rounds, we discovered the true strategy of Cannonball, the cloud meta. The clouds in the sky will stop a spiked Kirby dead in its tracks, and nothing is more satisfying than being saved by a cloud or using one to your advantage to pull off a slightly cool looking trick shot. Also, take a look at those death animations. Terrifying. We finally have a decent game here, and it is perfect as a Satellaview broadcast. Yes, it's a teeny tiny mini game, but definitely works as something you could download and play with the fellas for an evening. I guess I could complain about the graphics and their lack of Kirby, but I am not that bothered. The gameplay is solid and finally something I can actually recommend. However, while you're at it, just download a ROM for Worms instead. Unless you're in your Satellaview obsession phase, you can play a much better artillery game elsewhere. Arrange Ball is like one of those really old pinball games without flippers. I can't quite call it Pachinko because there is a Pachinko game coming up, so this is clearly different. Launch your Kirby and hope for the best. You have 9 balls and 9 Mr. Frosties. I came so close to a perfect game. Arrange Ball is similar to Guru Guru Ball, but I ended up getting more out of this one since it has just a touch more depth. I ended up playing for 30 minutes only because I was desperately curious to see what would happen if I got the best possible score, but then I realized I was whacking balls and watching them fall through pegs for 30 minutes and decided to quit. You know, maybe don't play this one. there are much better ball hitting games. Kirby Pinball. Like actual pinball, Kirby Pinball is not a new concept. Kirby's Pinball Land was among the first Game Boy cartridges I ever bought, and I love it to pieces. But this isn't a HAL game. This is Kirby's Toybox. I know me, pinball fan Amiiben, will talk about how important the physics are to a pinball video game, and if you've been paying attention to the games I've covered thus far, you'd have picked up that an iconic staple of Kirby box video game are bad physics. So of course, the pinball game has bad physics. It feels like the dev team played Kirby's Pinball Land on the Game Boy and tried to make a light version to go along with their minuscule budget. You got Mr. Frosty up there, the little hatching egg thing, and some grayscale Kirbys in the middle. Yes, these are just regular Kirby characters, but there's no way they didn't play Pinball Land, right? Right? I enjoy seeing Kirby Pinball in stunning 16-bit color. Obviously, it can't come close to the full-fledged retail pinball game, but for what it is, it's alright. I am well aware of my pinball bias, so if you're not a pinball apologist, you might just hate this game. However, I gotta give this one credit, as there's a lot more than just pressing a button and hoping for the best. Hoshi Kazushi, or Starbreaker. You know Breakout? Yep, this is Breakout. Yes, there was also a Breakout-style Kirby game that predates this, and of course it's better. Not sure if the devs played Block Ball because there's little similarities. Want to know how this game botches the physics? Well, I'm gonna tell ya. Instead of the traditional block breaker game of each brick bouncing your ball, Kirby will just fall through and leave a trail of stars. I played this game for the longest amount of time. Every other game I spent about 30 minutes or less on, but Hoshi Kazushi I got a little over an hour out of. That is due in part to my mediocre breakout skills and need to beat each level. 5 normal brick stages, and at the end a DDD fight. He makes a bit of a strange grunt when hit. This is the only Toybox game to have an original soundtrack. It's not as good as the reused Dream Course music, but it does the job. I realize I was asking for an original soundtrack in any of these games, and then when I get it, I complain, but I'm a hypocrite. I can't say I particularly enjoyed Starbreaker. At all the Breakout games, it's one of them, but like Pinball, there's just a much better option out there for Kirby-themed Breakout. Pachinko. Want to hear something absolutely shocking? As an American, I don't care about Pachinko. Possibly the most astonishing thing you had grace your ears today, right? I think there might be some form of strategy with controlling balls, but I'm just simply not interested in putting time in to figure it out. I found a position that allowed me to get pretty much every shot in the giant Kirby in the middle and just watch the high score tick up. I'm getting sick of these damn ball launching games, so let's just get it over with and move on to the final game. Finally, the most elusive entry in the series. Since all these games were broadcast that have long since ended, the only way they've been preserved is through Satellaview memory cards that happen to have games downloaded on them. It's a complete gamble on what game you'll get if you ever happen to buy a memory card. As time passed, Kirby's Toybox games were found, but one had stayed lost with this only screenshot for over a decade. In December 2020, it was dumped. Say hello to Ball Rally, one of the rarest Nintendo games around. Still, it's a game in the Kirby's Toybox series, so don't expect much. You got that signature one-button ball juggling gameplay. Kirby's fall through this maze thing and you'll want to time button presses to kill as little Kirbys as possible. This game isn't a dumb luck simulator, so it gets to reside in the moderately fun half of Kirby's Toybox titles. While I was playing, I was reminded of that one Donkey Kong game from Nintendo Land. Any Wii U owning citizens out there play that one? Ball Rally is about the most average game covered today. It's not pointless like some of the other titles, but I hardly got any joy out of playing it. My favorite part of the whole game is this King DDD sprite. Towards the end of a round, a few DDs will start rolling down, and man, that penguin looks absolutely toasted. And that was all the Kirby's Toybox games. Well, Megaton Punch and Samurai Kirby from Superstar were broadcast individually as part of the Toybox, but those aren't original entries and also haven't been dumped yet. Did I just play the 10 worst Kirby games? Yeah. Does it matter? Not really. These were all created to advertise the much bigger and better Kirby Superstar, so I guess they fulfilled their purpose. The best games here are bare-bones versions of existing decent games, and the worst here are devoid of entertainment. While important to the Kirby and Satellaview history, these games are pretty much useless. So by extension, that makes this video useless.